Hello everyone, welcome! Today, I want to share a message inspired by the timeless wisdom of Dr. David Yonggi Cho. God reminds us in Psalm 23 that He is our shepherd, guiding us through every season of life. As we step into October, it's a crucial time to be careful with our choices, to focus deeply on ourselves, and to embrace the power of silence. In the stillness, we find clarity. In reflection, we find strength. And in obedience, we discover God's guidance leading us to peace and purpose. This October, let's commit to being intentional, to nurturing our spirit, and to trusting that even in quiet moments, God is moving mightily in our lives. The month of October comes with a unique spiritual significance, a season where every step, every decision, and every word holds weight. God reminds us through Psalm 23 that He is our shepherd, our guide, our protector, and our provider. To understand this fully, we must pause and reflect on the essence of the psalm, which declares that even in times of uncertainty, danger, and temptation, we need not fear because our shepherd walks beside us, preparing the path, restoring our souls, and ensuring we lack nothing necessary for our journey. This month, it is crucial to approach life with heightened awareness. Be careful in October, not out of fear, but with wisdom, knowing that God's timing is perfect and every action we take has consequences. Focus on yourself, on your spiritual growth, on your inner peace, on the alignment of your actions with your faith. Let the distractions of the world fall away as you spend time in reflection and prayer. The psalm tells us that even though we may walk through dark valleys, there is a rod and a staff that comfort us, reminding us that discipline and guidance are forms of divine love. Embrace silence as a tool for discernment. Speak less and listen more, because in silence the voice of God becomes clearer, unclouded by the noise of daily life, untainted by the opinions of others, and free from the pressures of the world around us. Use this time to examine your heart, to identify the areas where pride, anger, or anxiety have crept in, and to replace them with humility, patience, and trust. The Lord prepares a table before us, even in the presence of challenges, showing that blessings are available, but they require focus, gratitude, and careful stewardship. Every decision in October should be intentional. Whether in relationships, finances, career, or personal growth, approach each choice with discernment, asking whether it aligns with the shepherd's guidance. Understand that not all opportunities are blessings, and not all distractions are harmless. Some can derail the journey if taken lightly. Maintaining a posture of stillness allows for divine direction to come without interference. Let go of the need to control outcomes, and instead, lean into trust. Recognize that even in times when it seems nothing is happening, God's providence is at work behind the scenes, orchestrating events for our good. Be vigilant against fear, impatience, and hasty decisions. Use prayer and meditation to anchor your mind and spirit, ensuring that every thought and intention is aligned with divine purpose. Silence is not emptiness, it is preparation. It is the fertile soil where seeds of clarity, wisdom, and strength are planted. Protect your mental and spiritual energy, for October is a season that tests focus and reveals priorities. As the psalm declares, goodness and mercy follow us all the days of our life, and it is by remaining cautious, centered, and silent that we fully experience the richness of these blessings. Reflect on the shepherd's role: guidance, protection, and restoration. Let this be the lens through which you evaluate each interaction, each choice, and each moment in October. Recognize that challenges are opportunities to deepen faith, that stillness fosters discernment, and that every step taken with intention strengthens the path towards spiritual abundance. October is a month that carries a special spiritual weight, a time when the choices we make, the words we speak, and the actions we take have the potential to shape our lives profoundly. The Lord calls us to be vigilant, to walk with awareness, and to approach every situation with care. In this season, It is easy to be distracted by the noise of the world, the allure of temporary pleasures, and the pressures that come from outside influences. However, the wisdom of Psalm 23 reminds us that the shepherd is always with us, guiding us, protecting us, and preparing the path before us. To walk carefully is to recognize that life is not a series of random events, but a divinely orchestrated journey where every step matters. We must approach October with intentionality, understanding that it is a time to evaluate our priorities, our relationships, our work, and even our inner thoughts, making sure that each aligns with the purpose and guidance of God. Being vigilant does not mean living in fear. It means living with discernment, seeing the spiritual significance in every choice and every moment. There are many influences in life that can lead us astray. People who may not have our best interest at heart, circumstances that seem confusing or challenging, and even our own desires that are not aligned with the higher path set before us. October is a season that tests our focus, revealing the strength of our faith and the clarity of our commitment to God's direction. Each decision must be weighed carefully, with prayer and reflection, understanding that what may seem small or insignificant in the moment can have long-term consequences on our spiritual growth, emotional stability, and overall life journey. We are called to walk deliberately, not hastily, not impulsively, but with a steady awareness that God's guidance is available for those who seek it and who move with care and intention. The psalm teaches us that even though we may walk through dark valleys, there is protection, there is restoration, and there is comfort. But this protection is not a license to act recklessly. Rather, it is an invitation to embrace wisdom, to walk in the light of divine guidance, and to trust that God's hand is leading us, even when the way seems unclear. To be vigilant in October is to practice this trust actively. It is to recognize the moments where temptation, distraction, or hasty decisions can derail the purpose God has for us, and to respond with awareness, discipline, and a calm, focused heart. Carefulness requires patience, the willingness to pause, to step back, and to evaluate the alignment of our actions with the spiritual truths we hold dear. It is in these moments of reflection that clarity emerges, enabling us to move forward with confidence and strength, knowing that we are walking in accordance with God's plan. Every area of life requires careful attention during this season. Our relationships must be nurtured with discernment, ensuring that the people we allow into our lives contribute positively to our growth rather than distracting or pulling us away from the path of purpose. Our work and daily responsibilities must be approached with diligence, recognizing that excellence is a reflection of the values we uphold and the integrity we maintain. Our financial decisions must be weighed thoughtfully, ensuring that resources are used wisely, with consideration for the long-term impact on ourselves and others. Even our thoughts, the conversations we engage in, and the habits we maintain require vigilance. Each choice can either strengthen our foundation or create cracks that may widen over time. October is a month to build resilience, to fortify our spirit, and to act with intentionality in every domain of life, understanding that God's guidance is available for those who seek it with a pure heart. Being careful in October is also about protecting our spiritual energy. The world can be loud, chaotic, and full of influences that distract from the voice of God. By staying vigilant, we learn to filter what we allow into our hearts and minds. We discern what is necessary, what is harmful, and what will ultimately lead us closer to the purpose for which we were created. This discernment requires focus, humility, and a willingness to step back from situations that are not yet ripe for engagement. It is in these moments of waiting, of observing, and of quietly seeking God's wisdom that we find the strength to make decisions that are not reactive but reflective, not impulsive but intentional. Silence becomes a powerful tool, allowing the guidance of the shepherd to be heard more clearly. unclouded by the noise of the world or the chatter of our own restless minds. October challenges us to act with awareness in both big and small matters. Even decisions that seem trivial can carry consequences that ripple through the month and beyond. The vigilance we exercise is an act of faith, a demonstration that we trust in God's timing and divine orchestration. By choosing carefully, we honor the path that has been prepared for us. We align ourselves with the principles of the Psalm, and we strengthen our capacity to walk confidently through both blessings and trials. The Lord's rod and staff, symbols of protection and guidance, remind us that even as we navigate uncertainty, we are never truly alone. These tools are not just for comfort, they are reminders to be deliberate, to step with caution, and to remain attentive to the spiritual realities that surround us. In practical terms, being careful this October means slowing down, examining the consequences of actions before committing, and remaining aware of the spiritual, emotional, and mental impact of our decisions. It means choosing words that build rather than destroy, making choices that nurture rather than harm, and investing time in things that align with long-term purpose rather than short-term gratification. It is about asking questions, seeking counsel, and remaining teachable, knowing that pride and impatience can lead to mistakes that could have been avoided through vigilance. This is a month for heightened awareness, for careful planning, and for thoughtful execution. It is a season to act with integrity, to honor God in every step, and to recognize that carefulness is a reflection of faith, discipline, and wisdom. As the days of October unfold, the call is clear: walk with care, act with awareness, and remain vigilant in every area of life. The shepherd's presence, as described in Psalm 23, is our assurance that guidance, protection, and restoration are available. But these blessings are fully realized only when we act intentionally, evaluate choices carefully, and remain spiritually attentive. Vigilance is not merely a defensive posture. It is an active engagement with life, a commitment to align with divine wisdom, and a recognition that each decision carries spiritual significance. By being careful, we create space for God's blessings to manifest, for clarity to emerge, and for peace to reign in our hearts. October is a time to embrace this carefulness as a spiritual discipline, a season to pause, reflect, and act with purpose. It is a time to let distractions fall away, to focus on what truly matters, and to step forward in alignment with the shepherd's guidance. The vigilance we practice now will shape the outcomes of this season and prepare us for the journey ahead, strengthening our faith, deepening our understanding, and ensuring that we navigate every challenge with wisdom and grace. Focusing on yourself is one of the most powerful and necessary disciplines you can practice, especially during the month of October, a time that calls for heightened spiritual awareness, personal reflection, and intentional growth. The Lord, through the wisdom of Psalm 23, reminds us that He is our shepherd, guiding us through life's paths, restoring our souls, and preparing us for the purpose He has ordained. To truly focus on yourself means to embrace this guidance fully, to allow His presence to illuminate the areas of your life that need attention, healing, and alignment with His will. It requires a deliberate pause, a willingness to step back from distractions, noise, and external pressures, and a commitment to prioritize your spiritual, emotional, mental, and even physical well-being. In a world filled with endless demands, external expectations, and constant activity, October presents an opportunity to recalibrate, to reconnect with your inner self, and to embrace the discipline of intentional focus. Focusing on yourself does not mean becoming selfish or ignoring the needs of others. Rather, it is an acknowledgement that personal growth and spiritual alignment are essential foundations for being able to contribute meaningfully to the world around you. When we are centered, when our thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned with God's guidance, we become vessels through which His goodness flows. It is only by cultivating this inner clarity that we can navigate life's challenges effectively, respond to situations with wisdom rather than reaction, and maintain a sense of peace even when circumstances are turbulent. October calls for this deep focus because it is a season in which the distractions of the world, the pull of unproductive habits, and the noise of external pressures can easily derail us if we are not vigilant. By focusing on yourself, you are creating a sacred space in your life where God's voice can be heard clearly, where insight can be gained, and where transformation can occur. The act of focusing on yourself begins with awareness and self-reflection. It is essential to examine your thoughts, your habits, and your priorities with honesty and humility. Identify the areas of your life where energy has been misplaced, where attention has been scattered, and where growth has been neglected. Use this month to evaluate the relationships, activities, and commitments that demand your time, and discern whether they contribute positively to your journey or whether they distract from the purpose and clarity that God desires for you. Psalm 23 assures us that the shepherd leads us beside still waters and restores our souls. Focusing on yourself is about seeking those still waters, moments of calm meditation and reflection where clarity can emerge and the soul can be replenished. In these moments, you can identify the areas that need refinement, the thoughts that require reorientation, and the behaviors that must be adjusted to align with the divine path prepared for you. October is also a season to cultivate habits that support personal focus. Daily reflection, prayer, meditation, journaling, and intentional silence are tools that allow the mind and spirit to reconnect with God's purpose. Avoid the temptation to fill every moment with activity or distraction. Instead, embrace pauses, for they are the fertile ground in which clarity, insight, and spiritual direction take root. Focused attention on yourself also involves nurturing your strengths, addressing weaknesses, and committing to continuous growth. Recognize the unique gifts and abilities God has placed within you, and dedicate time to developing them in ways that honor His purpose. At the same time, identify the limiting beliefs, fears, and patterns that may have held you back and confront them with courage, faith, and discipline. By doing so, you create an internal environment conducive to spiritual abundance, emotional resilience, and clarity of purpose. Focusing on yourself also means setting boundaries. Boundaries are essential for protecting your energy, your time, and your attention. They are not walls to keep others out, but guardrails that ensure your journey remains on course. In October, be intentional about where you invest your energy, whom you spend time with, and which activities you allow to consume your focus. Evaluate these choices through the lens of spiritual alignment and long-term purpose. Recognize that saying no to distractions or unproductive engagements is not selfish. It is an act of stewardship over the life and opportunities God has entrusted to you. As Psalm 23 emphasizes, the Lord prepares a table for us, but we must walk in awareness to receive His provision. Focusing on yourself ensures that you are receptive to these blessings, able to discern them, and prepared to act upon them with clarity and intention. Another critical aspect of focusing on yourself in October is cultivating self-discipline. Discipline is the bridge between intention and action. It allows us to prioritize what truly matters, to resist fleeting temptations, and to stay aligned with the spiritual path laid before us. Discipline is expressed in how we manage our thoughts, control our reactions, and maintain consistency in practices that nurture the soul. It involves patience, perseverance, and an unwavering commitment to the principles that guide a life of purpose. By embracing discipline, October becomes a transformative season in which focus translates into tangible growth and intentions are realized into meaningful outcomes. Focusing on yourself also involves gratitude and acknowledgement of God's guidance. Reflect on the blessings, experiences, and lessons that have shaped your life thus far. Recognize the areas where the shepherd has led you, protected you, and restored your spirit. Gratitude amplifies clarity, strengthens faith, and deepens our connection to God's presence. When we focus on ourselves with a spirit of gratitude, we become aware of both the gifts and the responsibilities entrusted to us. We see more clearly where we need to grow, where attention is required, and where God's wisdom must be actively sought. October is a month that requires careful navigation, and focusing on yourself is a critical tool in that journey. It empowers you to make intentional choices, embrace silence and reflection, and align fully with the guidance of the shepherd. By prioritizing inner clarity, personal growth, and spiritual alignment, you create the foundation necessary to walk confidently through challenges, seize opportunities, and experience the fullness of God's provision. It is through this focus that we cultivate resilience, strengthen our purpose, and ensure that our actions and decisions resonate with wisdom, integrity, and divine intention. The journey of focusing on yourself is ongoing, demanding attention, patience, and dedication. It is a practice of returning continually to what matters most, of examining the self with honesty and humility, and of seeking alignment with the shepherd's guidance at every step. By embracing this discipline in October, you prepare your heart, mind, and spirit for the blessings and challenges ahead, ensuring that your path remains clear, purposeful, and directed by divine wisdom. In focusing on yourself, you are not turning away from the world, but equipping yourself to engage it more fully, to act from a place of clarity, strength, and intentionality, and to live in a manner that honors the guidance, provision, and protection of the Lord. October is a season to reclaim your attention, redirect your energy, and realign your priorities. Focusing on yourself is not indulgence, it is preparation, reflection, and cultivation of the spiritual, emotional, and mental strength necessary to navigate life successfully. It is in these moments of focused attention, reflection, and discipline that the soul is restored, the mind is sharpened, and the spirit is fortified to embrace the journey with faith, courage, and clarity. The psalm reminds us that goodness and mercy follow us all the days of our lives, and by focusing on ourselves, we position our hearts to receive these blessings fully, allowing clarity, strength, and divine guidance to flow unhindered through our lives. Silence is one of the most powerful tools in the spiritual journey, yet it is often overlooked in a world filled with constant noise, distractions, and endless activity. October is a month that calls for intentional stillness, a season to embrace quiet, reflection, and deep listening to the voice of God. The wisdom of Psalm 23 reminds us that the Lord is our shepherd, guiding us beside still waters, restoring our souls, and leading us on paths of righteousness. To stay silent is not merely to refrain from speaking, it is to cultivate a state of attentiveness, awareness, and receptivity, allowing the divine guidance that is always present to be heard, understood, and acted upon with clarity. Silence is the space in which our souls are restored, our thoughts are clarified, and our hearts are attuned to the purposes that God has set before us. In October, this practice becomes even more essential as the month carries spiritual weight, testing focus, revealing priorities, and offering opportunities for growth, reflection, and transformation. Staying silent requires discipline, courage, and a deep understanding of its value. In a culture that prizes constant communication, action, and visibility, choosing silence is an act of faith. It is a declaration that you trust the timing of God, that you value discernment over impulsiveness, and that you recognize the power of listening before speaking, reflecting before acting. Silence allows the mind to settle, the heart to align, and the spirit to receive clarity. When we speak prematurely, we often act on emotion, assumption, or incomplete understanding. Silence, on the other hand, creates space for divine wisdom to guide our words, our decisions, and our actions. It is in this stillness that the shepherd's presence becomes tangible, comforting, and instructive, showing us the path to take even when the way seems uncertain or the challenges appear overwhelming. The practice of silence is deeply connected to vigilance and focus. When we remain silent, we are able to observe more closely, to discern patterns, and to recognize the subtle ways in which God is working in our lives. October is a month where distractions, temptations, and external pressures can cloud judgment and scatter attention. By embracing silence, we regain control over our inner environment, protect our spiritual energy, and cultivate the mental and emotional clarity necessary to navigate life intentionally. Silence allows us to listen to the whispers of the soul, to identify areas of weakness, to acknowledge hidden fears, and to confront the aspects of ourselves that require growth. It is in this quiet introspection that transformation begins, as we align more fully with the guidance, wisdom, and protection offered by the shepherd. Silence is also a form of spiritual receptivity. The psalm teaches us that even in the valleys of darkness, the rod and staff bring comfort and protection. But this comfort is often fully realized only when we are still enough to perceive it. In October, staying silent is an invitation to witness the subtle workings of God in our lives. It allows us to recognize blessings that might otherwise go unnoticed, to perceive guidance in the midst of confusion, and to understand the deeper meaning behind challenges. Silence is not emptiness, it is fullness, a space where clarity, insight, and divine instruction are received. When we embrace silence, we prepare ourselves to act with wisdom rather than reaction, to respond with intention rather than impulse, and to live in alignment with the divine path laid before us. Practically, staying silent in October involves more than refraining from speaking. It requires mental stillness, emotional restraint, and spiritual attentiveness. It means reducing the influx of unnecessary information, avoiding idle chatter, and consciously limiting engagement with distractions that pull attention away from what is truly important. It is about protecting the mind and the heart, ensuring that they remain attuned to the voice of God rather than the noise of the world. In moments of challenge, silence allows for discernment. In moments of decision, it provides clarity. In moments of temptation, it strengthens resistance. By embracing silence, we cultivate the spiritual, emotional, and mental resilience necessary to navigate October with wisdom, grace, and intentionality. Silence also fosters humility. When we choose stillness over constant expression, we acknowledge that we do not have all the answers, that our understanding is limited, and that divine guidance is essential. This humility opens the heart to correction, instruction, and insight that might otherwise be missed in the noise of activity or conversation. October is a month for deep spiritual growth, and humility, cultivated through silence, is one of the most fertile soils in which this growth can take root. By stepping back, listening attentively, and observing quietly, we align ourselves more closely with the shepherd's guidance and create space for divine wisdom to shape our decisions, actions, and perspectives. Furthermore, silence enhances focus and clarity in every aspect of life. When we are silent, we are less reactive, less influenced by external pressures, and more capable of seeing situations with discernment. October, with its spiritual significance, presents opportunities to reset, refocus, and realign priorities. Silence allows us to identify what is essential, to let go of what is unnecessary, and to invest energy in what truly matters. It is a protective measure, safeguarding our attention from distraction and our spirit from confusion. In stillness, we become more aware of the spiritual realities that guide our lives, the blessings that are already present, and the areas in which divine intervention is working quietly behind the scenes. Silence is also intimately connected to patience. In a world that seeks immediate results and quick gratification, October calls for a different approach, a disciplined, patient engagement with life. By remaining silent, we learn to wait, to trust, and to act only when clarity has been achieved. Patience, cultivated through silence, allows us to avoid mistakes, prevent misunderstandings, and approach situations with measured wisdom. It teaches us to value timing, to respect process, and to understand that divine orchestration is often unfolding in ways that are not immediately visible. October is a season to embrace silence as a spiritual practice, a lifestyle of attentiveness, and a discipline of the heart. It is a month to resist the temptation to react hastily, speak impulsively, or be swept away by external pressures. Silence allows us to receive guidance, observe the subtle movements of providence, and prepare our hearts for the actions, decisions, and blessings that lie ahead. By practicing silence consistently, we cultivate spiritual awareness, deepen our relationship with God, and ensure that our journey through October is intentional, guided, and full of purpose. In staying silent, we also create the opportunity for reflection and discernment. It is in these quiet moments that the soul evaluates the past, understands the present, and anticipates the future with clarity. Silence allows us to recognize patterns, to see connections that were previously hidden, and to prepare for the steps we must take in alignment with divine wisdom. October becomes a transformative month when silence is embraced, as it allows us to act not from impulse, fear, or confusion, but from a place of deep understanding, spiritual alignment, and intentional purpose. Finally, silence nurtures spiritual intimacy. By quieting the noise around us and within us, we open ourselves to a closer, more attentive relationship with God. The psalm reminds us that goodness and mercy follow us all the days of our lives, and through silence, we become more attuned to these blessings. We see clearly where the shepherd is leading, understand the guidance being offered, and feel the protection being provided. Silence is not emptiness. It is fullness of understanding, clarity, and divine presence. It is a vessel through which October can become a month of spiritual renewal, personal growth, and profound alignment with God's will.